All right, so welcome back to the Short Vol Show, and my name is David Lincoln, and I have a special guest, Tim, from the Trading Volatility channel on YouTube. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. We've actually never met before. About 10 minutes ago.
Face to face, anyway.
Yes. The great thing about YouTube is that you don't have to choose, just one channel to watch. You can like dabble a little here and dabble a little there. And I was kind of looking through some stuff the other day, and I came across your channel on day trading, which seems to have a lot more sort of intelligent content than some of these other maybe more popular guys. I don't know, like Patrick Wheeland or like Ross Cameron, who drive me crazy. And so I thought I would hit you up and try to learn a little bit more about day trading.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the platform you use. I saw that you it said something like DAS Sure Trader. And I've never really heard of that before. I was wondering if you could just kind of describe how that works to me.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sure Trader is actually what I like to call necessary evil. It's an offshore brokerage. It's a way to get around the PDT rule that a lot of people that don't have $25,000 laying around to start trading. If you want to start trading with under $25,000, as far as actually day trading and not be restricted to the PDT rule, you would use Sure Trader. Or there's a couple other ones. Like CMEG, and I think that's the only other one I would actually recommend. But I can actually just let me share my screen real quick, and I'll give you a little hover over. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for people that may not be familiar with the pattern day trading rule, that is the rule that says that you can only make, I guess, 3 round trips within a 5-day period unless you have at least 25 grand in your account. It was made by some misguided, I guess, senators or congressmen who are trying to kind of rein in the excesses of Wall Street, but all it has really done is hurt some of the little guys. So
it's very true. But yeah, just to go over it real quick, this is actually what you'll see when you first start it up. I can actually, let me see if I can just open up a new one for you. No, it's not going to let me. It's just gonna, but you can have everything within here, but you can actually get everything out onto your desktop. But it's really what I like about DAS or DOS, whichever you want to call it, is how quick it is. You'll actually see DOS used on a lot of the major brokerages as well. I know like Speed Trader uses it, Lightspeed. A lot of the different big names actually use this. They actually basically just rent it from DOS, and that's how that works. What exactly did you want to know about it? I can just kind of go right into detail about it.
So how do they get around the pattern day trading rule?
Basically, just by being offshore. By being offshore, these guys are located in the Bahamas. They just don't follow the U.S. regulations, so it's really that simple.
So do you wire them money to get your account started?
Yes. And one of the reasons I went with Sure Trader is just simply because they've been around for a while. It's not a new company, that you're kind of entrusting, because these guys, they're not putting insurance on your money. So technically at any time they could just close up shop and your money's gone if they wanted to do that. So it is a risk that you take. It's kind of why I like to call it a necessary evil. As well as they know a lot of people have to come to them to avoid the PDT rule. So, they charge you, some extra fees here and there that you just kind of have to pay. But again, it's one of the things you just have to do if you don't have, the money laying around, which is a lot of the, new traders out there. That's just how it is, because we don't have $25,000 laying around.
Yeah, totally. So what's the minimum that you could put in an account to
I
start out?
believe with Sure Trader, it's only $500.
Okay.
But I think to get margin on the account, you need $2,000.
Okay.
And the margin at Sure Trader is actually 6 times. So if you have 2,000, you would actually have 12,000.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have leverage of 6 times whatever money you put in.
Correct. And then every day you get this message from them, and it's usually a lot of the big stocks that are trading. Like I'm sure BPTH is on here. Let me see. Yeah, see BPTH, you would only have 1-to-1 margin.
Mhm.
And they do that just because, if there's some really volatile stocks, they don't want you. Um, I I always like to say they try to make it sound like they're trying to save you, but sometimes they just don't want you going all in and taking them to the bank. Because actually that brings up a good point about Sure Trader too. A lot of times when you make a trade, you won't see it go through on time and sales because a lot of the times they're actually buying your shares, or sometimes they'll already have the shares and you're technically buying them from Sure Trader, if that makes sense. It's not going directly to the market. So when I hit this buy button, I'm not sending my order to the market. I'm actually sending it to Sure Trader. And if they have the shares available, I'm buying them from Sure Trader. But if they don't have the shares available, excuse me, it actually will send it to the market.
Yeah, that is, I believe, fairly common practice
Yes.
with stocks. I mean, I think some of these guys, like, they'll take the other side of every retailer trader's trade internally
Yeah.
and make money that way. I know
Yep.
that, like, a company like Robinhood that's been so popular lately, people kind of say, well, how can they do it for free? Well, they do it by selling their order flow. And or internalizing their order flow. So that's that's interesting. So just walk me through, like, how you're sort of you're sort of trading. Like, are you trading a lot of issues at a time? Do you trade? I know some people just trade like 10 minutes a day and they open. What's sort of your average, like, sort of day like for trading wise?
My average day is, I would say I get on somewhere. I usually don't trade pre-market. I used to, just not my style. I don't, I came up with the name volatility trading for a reason. And, you don't really get that much volatility in pre-market. So I like to wait until the bell. And I usually will wait that first, maybe 2 to 5 minutes to really kind of see what a stock's going to do. And just I'll show you my trade that I made today.
Okay.
Oh, that was actually a descending triangle. That's a bad, not bad one to show you. Let me see. Or I can show you the one that I wanted to take, but I actually didn't because I wasn't at my computer. Where is it? Ren, here it is. So this was actually earlier in the day, and just to let you, I usually stop trading at 10:30, just because that's usually about the end of the volume, the morning volume. If nothing really pops up, you know, by then, that's usually when I'm done. I'm usually done trading by 10 on most days,
Okay.
but like today, there really wasn't anything that I was interested in that early. This actually wasn't the one I was trying to trade. I'm sorry. Maybe I was. Oh, here it is. It was JMU. So JMU had been a previous runner 2 days ago. We can actually scroll out real quick. And you can see that it had a nice run. So I was just really, I'm looking for pops, and I'm really looking. This dotted white line is my VWAP, and I'm looking for when a stock just gets extended away from VWAP, and I'm looking to just kind of feel out the top when she does extend like this, and I'm looking to get in, and I'm looking for that quick wash down. I like to call it the pop and drop. It's really that simple. And you have a question about it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you could just explain for some of the newer people what VWAP stands for, and that particular indicator.
Yeah, sure. VWAP is volume weighted average price. And what that is as every share is traded, it takes that price and it averages out. It averages those prices out. So it's basically it's going to find the median or the average of every share that was traded for the day, and that's going to just follow it. So if the price if you see the stock going up and the price is being bought up higher and higher, you're going to see it go up. And then as you can see, it's starting to flatten out because it started coming back down. And as it came back down, you see it started to try to go down, but it came back up the VWAP. So the average price stayed right here. And so it just kind of went sideways for the rest of the day, which I'm sure, let's see if we scroll. You can see as the price dropped a little, so does the average. And so that's what VWAP is. So VWAP is technically just the middle, is really the best way to explain it.
Yeah, I was watching a video a little while ago about this. It's talking about these institutional guys when they have to be buying or selling an issue, like their management wants them to be buying it below the VWAP at all times, and how that kind of dynamic sort of reinforces it as an important, you know, inflection point or something.
Yeah, there's, a lot of guys out there. People ask me all the time, are you a technical trader? Are you, a news trader? And I like to just tell them, I don't really pay attention to any of that. I used to, but I like to just call myself a price action trader at this point. That's kind of the name I came up with because, when I'm looking for these moves like this, or these pops, I like to call them, you're not really looking at technicals. I mean, I have VWAP there, and the only reason I have that there is just as a reference point to how extended she really is. And in all honesty, when she was getting up here, I believe the reason I didn't take this is because I wanted it closer to 3, or I was looking for that quick move over 3. Because imagine if she was up at 3 on this same 2-minute candle, how extended that would have looked compared to where it is now. So I'm really looking for those super extended candles, because the odds are, she's going to have some kind of pullback. So if I can time that top as best as possible, that's what I'm looking for.
So it's almost like a mean reversion type
Yep.
play.
Yeah, and to me, a lot of people are looking, they got the 50 EMA, the 9 and the 20 SMAs, they got the 100, the 200. And to me, it's just so busy. This is the previous day close, this is the open for the day. I like to have those. And then you got the high a day, low a day. And even that's a little busy. I just have them on there because it's something to look at. And this yellow line is the current price, and this actually moves with the stock. And I like that, as it's almost like having time and sales on your chart, and so to speak. So I mean, as you can see, that was the last price. But when I'm trying to time these moves, I went a little too far, sorry. Where am I at? I went a day back, didn't I? There we go. So when I'm trying to time these moves, if it's going up and up and up and it's going real fast, the yellow line can just be going real fast. But then once I see that yellow line kind of start to stop, that's me kind of feeling it out. And it really is kind of an art form, to kind of feel on these tops, because some people will, feel it, and then they'll let it drop a little bit too far. And a lot of people, like, say it'll drop back down here, and they'll be like, okay, it's going down, I'm gonna get in. And then sure enough, what's it do? It pops back up, and then they get scared and get out. Where it's like, if you can really figure out how to feel out this top, within like 2 or 3 cents, it really makes these moves pretty valuable. I mean, this wasn't a huge, cents move, but when you look at percentages, I mean, even on this first 2-minute flush, it's a decent move if you're looking to take it. And if and how I like to do it too is, if you have big enough share size on this initial flush, you can take half of your position and kind of, or even like 75% of your position. And then if you want the other bit to play out, I mean, look at how much you could have got out of the move. And this is just one example. And of course it's in hindsight. So, I have plenty of videos, showing this live. So if you want to see how I do it, go check it out.
Yeah. So, how much, like, what's your average sort of like sizing that you generally play with, and how many cents are you looking to get out of it? I know it varies by like what the nature of a stock is, but
Yeah, that's very true. It will vary. And honestly, right now, I'm just, I'm dealing with the kiddos every day as well. So it's a little bit tough for me. So I don't like to really take big share size. On an average stock, you'll actually see my preload is 300 shares.
okay.
Um, so usually I'll get in with, if it's a $1 or $2 stock, I might actually raise it up to 400 or 500.
Hmm.
But in most cases, you'll see me use 200 or 300. And if I am actually, I just played ACHC the other day, and that was a $30 stock. So I should have probably used 50 shares, but I used 100. So, and that's only on the pop and drop. If I actually, my trade today, was it TSG? Yes. So I was looking at this, and I saw a nice little descending triangle forming. So I do 3 trades. I have the pop and drop, an ascending triangle, and a descending triangle. So what I'm looking for with the descending triangle is, I'm looking for a big move up, And usually when you get a big move up, you'll have a descending triangle in most cases form underneath. So she was actually, I had these lines drawn, which I'll draw again real quick for you.
I like how you assign a female gender to your stocks.
Yeah, I've been yelled at for that before. I don't mean it like that. It's just
Well, I guess
how,
it's good when they go up and it's bad when they go down, or something like that.
So how I play these triangles, as you can see, that was the triangle I saw. The only thing that kind of scared me here was VWAP was kind of holding it up, and a lot of people use VWAP as a support base. But if you believe in the descending triangle, VWAP shouldn't matter. So I was looking at it here, and I actually had to get up for one of my kids, and I actually missed this. I would have probably got in right here, but what you're doing is you're looking for an entry point. So let's say it was right here at $18. You would actually look at high a day, and so we would look at your risk off of, we'll say 1865, because I never use the actual high a day because sometimes it'll actually shoot up right to it and come back down. We all know how double tops work. But just to show you the calculator. So if you, let's say your max loss on any given stock, you want it to be $100. You would take that $100 and you take your risk in cents. So we'll say 65 cents. So if you're getting in at 18, you have 65 cents risk. You would just divide that by 0.65. And that theoretically is how many shares you should be taking in this trade. So that way, no matter what, no matter how much the stock cost, your max loss is going to be $100 if you hit your stop loss. So you can have a plan going into this, into your trade, and you should never be in a trade without a plan. But in this case, I felt pretty confident. I think I took 300 shares, not because of the max loss, but I actually thought I hit the button a little bit higher as well. But I didn't actually take a look at the spread. I have a bad habit of doing that. So, but as you can see, she did end up completing the triangle and she came back down. But I believe it was my video yesterday. Let me actually pull it up. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen. I just wanted to see what the ticker was.
Yeah. So do you usually will you put like a stop orders in right when you're trading, or do you just kind of watch it?
I just watch it.
Okay.
That actually leads me to a funny story, but give me 1 second. Let me find this. 5 minutes. Okay, I have to look for it later. I don't see it on the 5-minute chart. But OCX, if you remember, you might even in your line of trading, you might have dealt with OCX. She was a big runner a few weeks ago. What was it right here on the January 29th? Which I don't know if I can actually show it on here. Yeah, it was before. I actually got into this trade for a descending triangle right at the bell. She shot up, she started forming a descending triangle, and let me go back to JMU because it was actually a good example.
Yeah, I find a lot of traders don't actually put stop losses, and they have a plan in their head, but they leave it and they watch it and they feel for what the market's doing at the moment, as opposed to putting in stop losses in ahead of time.
Yeah, there's with this type of trade, with a descending triangle type of trade, there's really no issue with putting it in because I mean, it should be there. Because when I first started trading, I can't tell you how many times where I had a mental stop loss and it would just go right through it, and I would just watch it keep going and going. Yeah. And that's why if you are new, I do recommend putting in that hard stop because it will help you in the long run. Yeah. At least until you kind of get the feel for it. But just to show you real quick, the OCX trade, obviously this is an OCX, but it was the same kind of trade. She made a first pop like this, and I got in 500 shares, which was a complete accident. I actually thought I had my screen loaded up for 300 shares. And the way my strategy works is I felt the top, and it actually was the top when I got in, but she came back down to something like this, and then she popped back up again. and I added another 500 because I like to do the first two ads the same. So I should have been in only 600 shares, but I was actually in 1,000 shares.
Mm.
And I actually got this first pullback, but I felt confident in the overall trade, so I actually was letting it go. And I was actually up, like, I think it was $180 on the trade. So I was up 18 cents on the overall trade. And then I think it was my oldest son had to go to the bathroom. S- I did not set a stop. I came back it was a little under 4 minutes later, and this thing went up $1.40 from
Oh,
my
jeez.
average and was halted.
Ugh.
Yes.
News
Needless.
pending.
No, it wasn't news penny. It was just it went up so high it hit
It was like a
the
circuit
circuit
breaker thing.
breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was a little bit in shock. I was down $1,400
Oh,
in 4
jeez.
minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. So
But
what? So what ended up happening?
I actually tried, and the problem with that is I was in 1,000 shares, and it was a little bit of a higher price stock for my account. So I did, and they of course lowered the right when something gets that volatile, they sure trader will cut down the margin.
Of
So
course.
I
Yeah.
couldn't buy any more shares at that point. So I could either have just cut my loss or, look for it to kind of, work itself out and come back down. Needless to say, what happened towards the end of the day, I actually didn't meet my margin. So I technically got a margin call. They actually sold, I want to say it was like 328 of my shares, because at that point, she didn't like overextend, but she did get to the point where it was somewhat blowing up my account. So I actually chose to hold that overnight. I actually ended up holding that for almost a week, just hoping, that it would come back down. And sure enough, she did kind of slowly come back down. And as she was hitting low points, I was taking off, like 200 shares. And then she would pop back up and I would add 200 shares so that when she came back down. So I was trying to manage the trade once I got to the point where my margin allowed me to.
Hmm.
And I actually only ended up losing about 1250 on the total trade
Hmm.
instead of at one point. At the time, my account was around like 4100 before that trade started, and I think at one point I was down over $3,000 on the trade by the
Oh,
near the end of
jeez.
the day. Yeah, it was a gut wrenching feeling, but I was a deer in headlights when I came back, 3 minutes later. And so if you want a lesson on why you should set hard stops if you're getting up from your computer, that's now one of my rules.
Well, I mean that's life in the big city with trading. Unfortunately, you wanna play.
Yep.
This is real money out there. So
Eh,
talk about for a second your journey of how you got to this point as a day trader. Like, where did you start out as a kid into the markets? Did you? I don't know. Are you a full time trader, or do you have another job and you do this? What was what's been your journey sort of like?
yeah, sure. That's a good question. Um, I'm actually a stay-at-home dad, so I guess that's a full-time job in a way. But guess what? I don't get paid.
Mm.
Luckily, that's what the sugar mama's for. um, but no, as far as how I got started, I actually worked. I used to work for my local government. Um, that was back in 2007, and through my local government job, I had a 403b plan, which they invest your retirement money into the stock market. So naturally, I just started paying attention to what was happening to my money. And about, I want to say it was like maybe it was like 6 years, I actually started to take control of the account and start to kind of choose, which plans that they were going into. But then I realized that they were all pretty much the same plans anyway. And then about 4 years later, I actually retired when we decided to have our first kid. And so that was when we decided I was going to stay at home. And I was with the kid by myself for about a year. And I actually ran into an old friend who, kind of paper trades here and there. He still does, who had mentioned Ricky Gutierrez. And I didn't know who he was at the time. So I was just messing around on YouTube, and I think I watched one or two of his videos, and then that led me to a Ross Cameron video, and I watched a bunch of those, and then that led me to like Mike over at True Trading Group, if you've heard of him. And I was in the wormhole at that point. I must have watched 50 videos that first night, and then over the course of the next 2 weeks, I've watched all kinds of videos, and I've even ran across your videos before. Um, Garage Day Trader, Kevin Avery, all these guys, Wieland, Amir Barak, I've watched them all. Stephen Ducks, not Timothy Sykes though. I watched one of his videos and I said no.
I was actually watching Mir Barak yesterday for a little bit.
Yeah.
I had
I don't necessarily agree with, I don't know if you know about what happened between him and Patrick Wieland, and all that good stuff. And if not, there's a whole another story for you.
all right. Well, just give me the 2-sentence version.
The 2-sentence rundown. Basically, Patrick Wieland called out Amir saying it was a Ponzi scheme. I can give it to you in 1 sentence.
I think I saw something about that. That was like 3 or 4 months ago, or something like that.
Yeah, it was a little while ago now.
Okay.
He threatened, Amir threatened to sue him, blah blah blah. But I don't necessarily agree with maybe TradeNet in general. However, it is a great platform for someone starting out, because you can literally take $400, $500, 400 if you have the special, I think it is, and you can get 14,000, I think it is, to start with. So you don't need 14,000 of your own money. The catch is you can only lose so much. I want to say it's like $700, and if you go over that, they terminate your account. But yeah, I watched all these guys, and like you said, Amir, his trading strategy is a great one. And I know I'm actually close with Garage Day Trader. He lives in the same state as me, so we talk here and there. He uses that strategy every day, and he's successful with it. So
now, which state are you in?
Maryland.
Okay,
I live in Maryland. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But other than that, I was just hooked. I loved it. It was something, I've always been a person too that could never really find that one thing that I wanted to do in life. And when I started doing this, and I just fell in love with it. And since then, I haven't even had a question of what I want to, every day I wake up, I want to do it. When it's Saturday and Sunday, I love being with the kids and the family, but it's like, I feel lost in a way. It's like, I just want to trade.
And wait till it's Monday. Can't wait till Monday comes again, huh?
Whoever says I can't wait till it's Monday, nobody except for traders.
Well, it's weird. I have a side job working at a gas station, and I watch the people come in every day, and their thing is these scratch tickets, which just have these terrible odds. But it's hundreds of people that's their thing, and they spend all their money on it. And, at least with a stock, maybe you have a 50-50 chance, but with this stuff, it's like, your expected return is like 60 cents on the dollar or something like that. And it's kind of shocking to me. I goof on those guys, Patrick Wieland, those guys. But he definitely is a very skilled video maker. I mean, he comes from that background and does an excellent slick job, and he pretty much admits that he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, so that's fine as long as he has that self-awareness to some extent.
I think with him too, it's just he's a little bit all over the place. One day he's now he's trading futures, but yet he's still trading equities, talking about cryptocurrency. Like, I think a lot of people, he's one of them ones, like you said, he's a great videographer. And at the same time, he flashes, living the best life, with his boat and, his girl and stuff. So a lot of people are attracted to that. And that's, how a lot of people get caught in the bad side of trading, as I like to say, with all these gurus that, they're saying, hey, come buy my course, get rich quick. That's not how it works. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah, there's so many people out there with that scam. We're trying to take your money away. And if you're a starting out trader, you don't have $200 a month to give to somebody. I mean, that kind of stuff happens from smaller people to the bigger newsletters, and there's plenty of resources out there without spending a lot of money, I believe. But I think definitely one of the takeaways I was going to say, I'm sort of glad you were sort of alluding to it. One of the takeaways of watching, like just what you were talking about, is that you have, kind of carved out a little niche for yourself of what you know and what you feel comfortable with. And, you're talking about, I have the ascending triangle, descending triangle, and I think what was the
The
first one you
pop and
called?
drop.
Pop and drop. And that is what I
Name your
try to,
trades.
yeah, I mean, I try to emphasize to people: get your little niche, your little niche in the financial world, and become an expert in it. Learn to do it well, and that's all you need. I was an equity options market maker, where I stood there and made a market in illiquid stock options for a couple companies. I was the only one in the world that made markets in a couple small stocks, and I was an expert in that little world. I couldn't tell you anything about bonds. I couldn't tell you anything about like investment banking. There's so many areas of finance, and you don't need to be an expert in all of them. And I'm not speaking to you right now. I'm speaking to the viewer out there. Viewer, you don't need to be an expert in all of these things. Find your little something that, and you can't become an expert in crypto, bonds, all this other stuff. And I suspect Patrick Whelan is trying to gather viewers when he does that.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. As opposed to what we are trying to do, which is find a niche and make money by ourselves.
Yep. It's very true. Yeah, if there's one thing I could tell anybody is especially if you're starting out, is find one thing that you not only can make profitable, but also that you enjoy. Just because you can become profitable at something, if you don't enjoy doing it, that same thing goes in trading. If you're making a trade and every time you're on, you're just, your whole body tenses up, then maybe that's not the trade you should be taking. You should be looking for something that you're a lot more comfortable in. There's thousands of ways to make money in the market. You just need to find the one that fits you best.
So as far as your financial situation, I'm not asking to like look at your taxes or something like that. But so you are sort of Mr. Mom. So your partner has an income. Is that part of it? And then well, the point I'm trying to get at, which I kind of alluded to in the email, is that um, I like to like emphasize to people that trading you should not be using whatever your capital is all to trade, to day trade with. You should have something held back that is your stability for long-term times. And the reason I say this is because in that Volmageddon a few months ago, a lot of my viewers lost all their money because they were gambling it all from trade to trade by watching, videos. And I felt responsible a little bit. So I like to explain to people that there should be some separation between your long-term plan and what you're doing at the moment trading. Is that true for you? Do you have some sort of like 401k, or you mentioned that from your government job? Do you still have a separate sort of savings setup, or how do you handle that?
I personally don't have one anymore. That is actually what I used to start trading. However, that's not how we have it set up. Is everything that I make or lose trading is not affecting our real lives. Like everything we have budgeted out is income from her job or income. And I actually do have a side job. I actually umpire Little League baseball, in the summertime, is all the way up to, like varsity in high school. And even sometimes I'm actually active on Uber. I'll actually go drive every once in a while. Like if I had a bad week and I want to pay for, I need money to pay for the scanners for that month just so that I'm not dipping into my capital, then I'll go do that. There is times where it is a hustle and you need to do what you got to do to make it work, especially when you're first starting out. Your goal should not be to make millions of dollars or even thousands of dollars. It should just be to stay afloat until you learn and master what it is that you want to do. But to further answer your question, yeah, I mean, this was my retirement money, but it was, if I wanted to get started, the money needed to come from somewhere. So but it was money that me and the wife, sat down and said, hey, could possibly lose this. So, and we were comfortable with that. And I hate to give this reference, but it is one that I give all the time. It's no different than if you go to the casino, you should not take money to the casino that you're scared to lose, because you will never win with that money. And when you lose, you start to lose it, you're not going to, bet properly, to, you should always have a plan, and you should never play with scared money. And the same goes for the stock market. You should have a plan before you hit that button to get into any trade, and you should always have a plan once you're in the trade.
Yeah, words of wisdom. Yeah, there's this options Facebook group that I'm on. There's this long thread that people have been talking about, where some people are considering making the jump to being, or just talking about what it would take to become a full-time trader. And it's very important that you do have this structure where the trading account is separate from other stuff, and you're not like, oh, I need $50, I got to take it out of the trading account, or oh, I got to make, oh, I better make $500 today or I can't pay my rent. That's the world I lived in when I was suffering from drug addiction. Oh, I got to find this money. It's like you can't make rational trading decisions if you've got the wolves at the door. You got to keep it isolated. And I know that this might sound, some people are going to come and say, oh, that's totally obvious, I want to talk about esoteric options trading or something like that. But the reality is for most people, people are trying to figure out how to make this stuff work, and it's not totally obvious. Finding a way to balance what you need to survive and your trading account is the reality of the struggle for most of us. Definitely.
It's very true.
So, I want to direct everybody to go and check out your channel. Please, if you're watching this, just click over there and give this guy a couple viewers, because it's definitely, his stuff is definitely deserving of views. It's not just day trading stuff. It's also a lot of trading lessons about the economy and about the stock market in general. So check it out, and you'll be glad you did, because it's interesting stuff. It's underviewed. You should have way more people than you do right now. And when did you start the channel?
It was not long ago,
Right.
probably less than a month ago. So,
Okay.
But I do like to try to put a video out every day, and I even try to put one out on the weekends. So usually I'm putting out 6 videos a week. So I'm trying to play catch up. I'm
Nice.
trying to kind of fill the voids for, what I try to do is I try to make videos that I don't see already out there. Obviously doing the live day trading, that is out there to an extent. But as far as, the videos I make, I'm really looking to try to, show some people the transparency that a lot of these other traders just don't show you. And when I talk about that, it's more so, a lot of guys won't show you when they lose. And even when they do, they're like, oh, I really didn't want to upload this. So it makes you wonder how many times they didn't upload it. So
I suspect some of that, Patrick Whelan's doing a little bit of that too. Selective. I'm sure all these guys are. I can't believe that. I can't believe some of these guys are making money all the time. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they are. But it's
a
important.
lot of them do, just with some sketchy tactics. If you watch their videos close enough, you'll see that some of these guys are a little sketchy. And I'll expand on one. I won't throw out any names, but there's one guy. He's very well known. He's doing a challenge where he took a small amount and he's trying to go to $1 million. So, without saying names, you might know who I'm talking about. But if you watch his videos and you see his trades, there was a slew of trades for about 2 or 3 weeks where he was getting in at, and he still does, but he was getting in at the bell at 9:30 and say like 4 seconds, and he would be out of that trade in 4 to 5 seconds, and he's trading 9,000 shares. So
Wow.
he's telling, I mean, it's clear as day to me that he's telling his chat room, hey, I'm getting in this trade. And as his traders from his room are getting in, he's getting out, because
so he's pumping his own chat room. Yeah, he's pumping and dumping his own chat room. Yeah.
Think about it. In 4 to 5 seconds, you can't even spit out, hey, I'm getting into this trade. Like that took 3-4 seconds right there. So by the time they're getting, like, so what else could he be doing if he's already in the trade for 9,000 shares and he's getting out 4 to 5 seconds later? Yeah. I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious, but you don't see it because he's showing you big numbers. Hey, I'm making $3,000 today. I made $9,000 today. And I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people start out following one of these people, and there's no shame in that to me, because there is a lack of good financial content online. And I know a really excellent trader who started out with the Tim Sykes videos, and he whatever gets you there, whatever gets you into the market and gets you engaged is just fine. And I'm trying to improve the content here, and hopefully someday people will say, well, I got into the market by watching some of Dave's stuff. But I don't think there's any shame in if you got there through some of those guys.
Not at all.
I wanted to ask you. So what's your take on crypto? Is it done and over with? Did you get were you seduced into playing around with it a little bit, or what do you think?
No to crypto. It's, to me, you might as well come see Dave at his side job and buy some lottery tickets. That's how I feel about it. I mean, people can, they can make an argument, that it's going to the moon or doing whatever, but to me, I don't like to predict. I trade what's happening. So even if I did have a view on it, it wouldn't matter.
Now, when we get stuff like that happened in December where the market's in a big sell-off mode, or there's certain time periods obviously when like all stocks act together in tandem because something just happened, or the indices are moving in one direction or another. Do you sit those moments out, or do you try to play momentum on those times, or how do you address that?
I actually had one of my better couple weeks during all that, simply because you get runners like, if you take BPTH today, if you were to put BPTH today back and during all of that, the odds are pretty much everything was kind of a, best way to call it is a fake out breakout, so to speak. So these things would, all these stocks would try to run. And sure enough, everyone's looking at the market, man, the market's going down. It's, I shouldn't be buying right now. And as a short bias trader, it was really good times. And again, no matter what the news is, I can't, of course I'm not going to be able to remember the ticker, but I remember jumping into one that, let me, well, it was just like the JMU chart I had showed you a little bit earlier, where it was shooting up, and I mean, it was going straight up, and I was just feeling it out, and I almost top ticked it. I was probably about 10 cents off, but this thing was jumping. It went up about a point in about, I want to say it was like 3 minutes, but it was constant, and it never really gave a pullback. So when it finally stopped, I got in. It actually washed out for about 50 cents. I took my profit, and it, from there it went up another 3 or 4 points, and it just goes to show. And then later on I found out it was some like great phase 3 data news or something like that. So it just goes to show you that just because the news is there or whatever, it shouldn't affect your actual trading. Because if you're, or at least it doesn't for me, because I'm trading the price action, I know that eventually this thing is going to get tired, and there's everyone that wants to buy bought. So, and once it gets extended to a point, I know there's going to be a lot of people that won't buy because it's so extended. So there's a lot of things that are playing into the strategy to where I'm counting on this thing to kind of stall out and then flush down. And that's all I'm looking for. I'm looking for that quick flush. And it's usually there, I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but 7 to 8 times out of 10, it's going to come back down. And when it doesn't, if she wants to keep going, that's when you look to add. Until she does, you kind of average up. And, my strategy's there. If you want to go kind of see it in my videos, it's a little bit easier to watch in person than to kind of sit here and explain.
So, how does SureTrader? What about if stuff's hard to borrow? Are you able to get shares there, or do you lay off some of the really hard to borrow ones, or how does it work with SureTrader?
With SureTrader, just to show you right here, JMU is actually on SSR. But when you can short a stock, it'll just show up S. SureTrader doesn't really have hard to borrow, easy to borrow. It doesn't have any like borrow fees or anything like that. Either you can short it or you can't.
Right. Yeah.
However, you can locate shares. So you can come up here, you can go down to short locate, and let me think of one that we couldn't. The one I wanted to short today, OHRP. You'll put in how many shares you're looking for, and then you can hit inquire. It might not show me right now because of we're off hours.
Mm.
But over here it uses I'm not sure who this is, but this is actually through Trade Zero. And what would happen is it would come up and it would show you how many shares are available and at what price. And
Okay.
then if you wanted those, you could come down here, put your account number in, how many shares you want, and once you hit locate order, you would actually pay $25 to locate those shares. And then you would also pay the price for those shares, which is it ranges from like 0.07 cents a share, sometimes all the way up to 3 cents a share.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, it can vary.
Do you with the shirt trader, do you have do you have customized buttons that you use? Like what are the like the main buttons that you use to buy and sell? Is it like market order? Do you do stuff
Um,
midpoint? How does that work?
Actually, I like to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
I actually do want to add a cover half position in here just to have it, but these are actually hot buttons, which are essentially hot keys in button form. And if you right click on them, which I actually made a video on how to make these if you're interested. But basically, what these are is I can put in my how many shares I want, and when I click this, it's a limit order, but it's plus or minus 5 cents in either direction.
Okay.
So essentially, I'm trying to guarantee that I get into this trade. So that if it's rising up, rising up, rising up, and she starts to drop, if I were to hit short and it's a limit order and she's dropping pretty quickly, I might not get filled. But if I have that 5 cent buffer, which you can see right here in the hotkey, then I should essentially get in. I might not get, the fill I was hoping for, but at least I'm in the trade.
And you can set them up the way you want to. Yeah, there's a I'm active on StockTwits, and there's a guy bear charts, and he was talking about how like get to know your stocks as far as like how much do they average like move around during the day, and so once you get to know them, you can trade them a little bit better that way by getting to know them. Do you generally sort of stick to the same stocks, or do you jump around a lot?
I don't think in the eight-ish months that I've been trading that I've traded the same stock twice.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at these scanners that I have, and whatever pops up that's moving that day that's what I'm looking
It's
for.
fair game.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that was one of my questions for you. And do you have like a list of like the indices and stuff so you can kind of tell what's going on? Do you have news feeds and stuff that you watch also?
Kind of. Let me share the screen. So this is actually a whole different monitor I have up, and these are my scanners. So yeah, right here, like we'll just since we've been using JMU as an example, um, these are if anyone is curious, these are the intensity stock watch scanners, and these play into my strategy a lot better. I used to use trade ideas. They just didn't really do what these do. These are more intensity based, or like they basically look for volatility. So at any time, as you can see, the plus I3 is a bearish. It's looking for the bearish reversal. So like on this move on JMU today, right around probably like in the body of this candle, it senses that it's making a strong move up. So it'll actually give you a rating over here, and you're looking for anything over 20. And once it gets over 20, that's when it'll start beeping at you. And it's basically an alert for you to pull up the chart and to kind of see if it's something that you'd be interested in. Where with trade ideas, there was really no way to kind of do this, I guess is the best way to say it.
Hmm.
But as you can see, I have indices up here. The only one I really pay attention to is the SPY. And even the SPY, I necessarily don't pay attention to too much because the stocks I'm trading are lower cap stocks that don't really follow the SPY too much. But I really just have this up, you know, just out of curiosity of what, the overall market's doing, not more so as, something that would affect my trades.
Now, does that cost money every month? That one you're showing
Yes.
me right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is you can actually find this in the description of all my videos.
Okay.
If you want to check it out. It's intensity stock watch. I mean, it's you actually right now if you go to not to promote him or anything, but another guy that I work with, Kevin Avery, If you go to his giveaway video, I think for passing 1,000 subs that he just released, I think it was yesterday, you can actually get these for free for a week. So
Well, there
if
you
you want
go.
to check them out, yeah, can't hurt.
Nice. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to include links in the description for all these different products we've been talking about, and hopefully this is insightful to you and gives you some more stuff to check out and your own particular journey. Thanks, Tim, for coming on the program and sharing a little bit of your time with us. Obviously, you can check out Tim's strategies in a more detailed way by checking out his videos, which I will leave a link in the description too. Hey, listen, great job so far with the YouTube channel, and great luck moving forward. And let's stay in touch together and check back with each other. And best of luck for your trading moving forward this year.
Definitely. Thank you. And same to you, and appreciate the invite. Hopefully next time I can maybe be a little bit more informative as far as, hopefully I'll be further along in my journey. That's why I started my YouTube channel in the first place, was really just to kind of document my journey. And it's kind of just over the first couple of weeks turned into, maybe I can help somebody along, my journey, and kind of steer them in the right direction instead of, just passing them off to some of these other YouTubers or, gurus that maybe might not lead you in the right direction and maybe take something out of your wallet that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, it's refreshing to see somebody who's willing to, admit when they lose money. Everybody loses money. If you say you're not, you're lying.
Hey,
And
here, let me show you one last thing real quick.
sure.
This is just even for somebody like me, I like to just pull this up even for, every day I input my trades. But right here, like you can see, I've actually had a decent week as far as like finding green trades. But if you notice one thing, one of my problems that I still have is that my reds are still bigger than my greens, when I do have them. And anybody that wants to tell you, that they're 100% on their trading, don't listen to them because they're lying. But as you can see, I actually, my percentage right now is 61.63. This is actually over the lifetime of my trading. However, more recently, I've been keeping track. And in the last, like 3 or 4 months, I'm actually closer to I'm actually at like 79.21. So I've improved a lot. And something like this is, a big way to, and here's that OCX trade I was telling you about. But this is, if anyone's interested in this is actually free, stocktrader.com. I actually hadn't heard about this until last month, and I actually backtracked and logged all my trades, and it's a really good way to keep track of everything. Not
Well,
promoted, I'm not promoting it, or I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but yeah, it's a really cool thing. It's almost like a diary for your trades, and you can kind of keep track over time, and it can really break down and show you where you're struggling and what you should, focus on fixing.
oh yeah, that's interesting. I know that Tim Sykes has that Profitly one. That's
Yeah, it's kind of like
something
that.
like that.
I just kind of like this one better. It's a little bit easier to input everything. And if you want to come down here and, go through all your trades, like, OCX.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I think it's a great idea to if it's not online, at least keep some sort of notebook about what's happening, because you're going to notice patterns in the end. I mean, for me as a market maker, it was like, we'd have some guy come in every month and roll this option to the next month, and if we wrote it down, then we could get ready for him to come and kind of anticipate things. But yeah, that's organization, organize yourself. I know it's hard when you're there alone at home in front of your computer to get organized, but it's
Yep.
the key to success.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Yep.
All right.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Yep.